Many years ago, before reality punched Isioma hard in the stomach, she used to believe one powerful philosophy with her whole chest. The fastest way to a woman's heart is through food. Isioma loved food with passion. Not ordinary passion, no, but a deep emotional and spiritual connection. While other girls cried over flowers and teddy bears, Isioma cried over well-cooked jollof rice, large plates of egusi soup, and fried plantain that shone like the sun after rain. She always believed that if she ever married a professional chef, her life would be complete forever, because what else could a woman need besides unconditional love and unlimited food? She grew up in a house where food solved everything. If her father was hungry, her mother cooked fresh okra soup, and immediately he forgave everybody. If her siblings fought, their mother fried sweet potatoes and peace returned. Food was the official language of their family. So naturally, when Isioma reached marriage age, her secret prayer point was simple: Lord, if you cannot give me a chef husband, then at least give me someone who can cook like one. Then, one bright Saturday afternoon, like a dramatic miracle from heaven, she met Chef Dave Nwonkwo, the soft-spoken, tall, handsome man whose cooking videos were already trending on social media and whose restaurant, the Royal Spoon, was always fully booked. Their first meeting was at a charity cooking competition in Victoria Island, where he was wearing a white chef coat that looked like anointing oil was poured on it, and he held his knife like a king holding his scepter. Isioma's heart beat so loudly that even the frying pan on the gas seemed to vibrate in agreement. She watched him sprinkle herbs gently like someone blessing a nation and arrange vegetables as if he was arranging gold. From the way he flipped chicken breast into the pan, she knew this was her husband, because any man who could season meat like that could surely season a woman's life with joy. She stood there staring with her mouth open in admiration until her friend Oluchi tapped her shoulder and whispered, "Isioma, close your mouth before mosquito enters." Isioma closed her mouth, but her heart opened permanently. The moment they introduced themselves, she felt electricity move through her bones. "Hello, I am Dave," he said with a calm smile. "I'm Isioma," she replied, smiling so widely that her cheeks almost tore. Dave offered her a special tasting sample from his dish and told her it was called Artistic Miniature Culinary Experience, and Isioma nodded confidently, even though she did not understand anything except the word experience. When he placed the plate before her, she almost screamed because the plate was bigger than her head, but the food on it looked like somebody mistakenly dropped crumbs on it. There were 3 tiny pieces of grilled chicken, a line of mashed potato like someone drew a pencil line, and 2 leaves that looked like they came directly from a flower vase. She looked at it, looked at him, looked back at the food, and smiled politely because she wanted to impress him. She placed 1 tiny piece of chicken inside her mouth and closed her eyes like professional food tasters do. She nodded slowly and said, "Wow, this is amazing," even though her stomach shouted angrily, "Is that all?" The audience clapped. David beamed proudly, and Isioma clapped too, although she used the clapping to distract herself from the loud thunder happening inside her stomach. Immediately she left the event. She ran home to cook a mountain of jollof rice, big enough to feed 12 people, and she ate it like someone who had not seen food since the Civil War. That night, she dreamt of marriage and imagined waking up every day to plates filled with grilled fish, roasted turkey, creamy pasta, fried yam, golden plantain, pepper soup, and soft bread that melts in the mouth. She dreamt of Dave placing food gently in her hands like a precious jewel while he said, "My queen, eat and be satisfied." She woke up smiling and whispered, "God has finally remembered me." Their love moved quickly because every date they had involved food. Although the portions were always suspiciously small, but Isioma believed it was because he was saving the real cooking for after marriage. Her friends warned her, "Isioma, are you sure you understand what you're doing? This man's food always looked like an art exhibition more than real food." But Isioma always replied confidently, "What do you know about love? When you marry a chef, your stomach will never suffer." After several months of romance filled with poetic food pictures and long conversations about the future, they got married. The wedding reception food was heavenly. There were 13 kinds of rice, roasted chicken that tasted like glory, stew that made grown men cry, and desserts that looked like blessings arranged on a plate. People carried plates home. Children danced. Women packed leftovers. Isioma's aunt shouted, "Isioma, you have married well. This man will cook you into paradise." And Isioma smiled proudly and said to herself, "I will never be hungry again in my life." The first morning after the wedding arrived beautifully, with sunlight entering through the white curtains and birds singing like a choir practicing for Christmas concerts. Isioma woke up smiling with the full confidence of a woman who believed that her breakfast would come like a royal feast. She stretched gently like a princess and whispered happily, "Today I will eat like a queen." She could almost smell jollof rice dancing somewhere in the air. Even though it was morning, she turned and found Dave already awake, wearing his white chef coat and arranging plates on a tray with the seriousness of a surgeon preparing for heart operation. Her heart melted immediately and she said, "Oh, you woke up early to cook for me. This is already the sweetest marriage in the world." Dave smiled softly and placed a hand on her cheek. "Every day of your life will be a special culinary experience," he said with the gentleness of warm water. Isioma giggled and clapped her hands like a schoolgirl receiving a surprise gift. "I believe you completely," she replied happily. He lifted the tray and walked to the bed as if he was walking down the runway of a fashion show. And Isioma quickly sat up and adjusted the pillows behind her because she wanted to look beautiful next to her royal breakfast. Then he gently lowered the tray in front of her and removed the cover dramatically. Isioma froze. On a very large white plate, there was one slice of toast cut diagonally into two tiny triangles, like where somebody accidentally stepped on bread. Beside it sat half of a boiled egg, cut neatly into two, with a small green leaf sitting on top like a decoration for funeral. There was also a spoonful of something that looked like mashed avocado, painted across the plate like somebody used a brush. And finally, there was exactly one strawberry, sliced into 14 pieces, arranged like compass directions. Isioma stared at the food. The food stared back at her. Then her spirit left her body briefly and returned. She smiled, although her lips were shaking like a wet puppy. "This is beautiful," she whispered carefully because she did not want to sound ungrateful. Dave clapped his hands once with excitement. "Yes, this is called artistic morning delight. It is best appreciated slowly so that the flavors can fill the soul." Isioma nodded firmly, even though her stomach growled so loud that the bed vibrated. Yes, flavor and soul, wonderful." She took the half egg, put it in her mouth and chewed with dignity, even though it disappeared inside her as if nothing happened. She took one triangle of bread and swallowed it like communion. Then silence filled the room. Her stomach rolled like thunder. David watched her with shining eyes. He asked proudly, "So, how do you feel?" Isioma swallowed hard and forced a smile. "I feel peaceful." But inside her mind, she was screaming, "Where is the rest of the food? I am hungry." Dave stood up happily and kissed her forehead. "Good. Food is not about quantity. It is about the art of experiencing each bite." She nodded slowly and said, "Yes, art." However, the moment he left the room to take a shower, Isioma jumped off the bed, ran like lightning to the kitchen, opened the cupboard and grabbed 3 slices of bread, a tin of sardine, and drank orange juice directly from the pack like someone escaping from the desert. Then she wiped her hand, composed her face and returned to bed before he came back, breathing heavily like someone who just ran a marathon. Later that day, lunch came again, beautifully arranged with flowers beside the plates. Isioma felt hope rising again, thinking maybe breakfast was just introductory decoration. Then Dave removed the cover and revealed another shocking masterpiece. There was a long rectangular plate with 5 items arranged across it like beads on bracelets. 1 grilled prawn sitting on top of a cucumber slice, 1 spoonful of rice rolled into a small round ball, 3 thin slices of carrots placed like fan, 2 drops of pepper sauce looking like tears, and a tiny piece of chicken wings that was so small that even a mosquito could drag it away. Isioma blinked 5 times. She looked at the food, then at his excited face, then back at the food. Her body started shaking. She whispered, "Dave, is this the first round?" He laughed. "No, my love. This is the complete meal. It teaches you to slow down and appreciate flavor." Isioma stared at him with confusion. "But darling, what if someone wants to appreciate flavor and also appreciate quantity at the same time?" Dave chuckled and rubbed her shoulder. "Quantity ruins creativity." Chai! That sentence hit her like hot water. That night, she called her best friend Oluchi behind the closed bathroom door so that nobody would hear. "Oluchi, I think something is wrong." Oluchi frowned. "What happened? You sound weak." Isioma cried. "I am weak. I have eaten only 2 spoons of food today." Oluchi frowned again. Is he fasting?" Isioma shook her head. "No, he believes food is art. He cooked lunch like a museum exhibition. I think my blood sugar has traveled." Oluchi laughed. "Are you joking?" Isioma sighed. "I wish I was. My wedding ring is shaking on my finger because my hand is trembling." Oluchi laughed. But he's a chef. Shouldn't you be exploding with food?" Isioma shook her head. "I thought so. That is why I married him." She heard footsteps approaching and whispered urgently, "Oluchi, if you don't hear from me by Monday, please send food." She ended the call quickly and flushed the toilets so it would sound natural. However, at midnight, when Dave was sleeping peacefully and dreaming of artistic food, Isioma tiptoed to the kitchen again, opened the cupboard quietly, and ate garri with groundnut like someone swallowing medicine. Every spoon felt like victory. Every crunch felt like hope. She wiped her mouth, washed the cup, hid the evidence, and returned to bed slowly like a thief. She lay down, stared at the ceiling, and whispered to herself, "Lord, is this how my life will be? Will I be eating secretly forever?" The ceiling did not even answer. Only a dog barked sadly as though it already knew the suffering that awaited her. Her hunger journey had just begun. Days passed and Isioma tried her best to adjust, but hunger refused to adjust with her because hunger does not listen to explanation and it does not understand artistic food. Every morning arrived with another flat, tiny masterpiece. Every afternoon arrived with another beautifully designed insult on a plate. And every evening ended with more vegetables arranged like alphabet letters and drops of sauce, looking like decoration for a birthday cake. Although she always smiled politely, inside her body there was a civil war happening. Her stomach growled so loudly during a church service that the usher turned around in fear, thinking a wild animal had entered the building. A small child sitting close to her whispered to his mother, "Mommy, is that lion?" And Isioma pretended to cough loudly to cover the noise. At home, she became an expert at moving silently in the kitchen like a CIA agent. She had learned to quietly open bread nylon without a single sound, to eat garri with tiny spoonfuls so that it would not echo, and she had also learned to drink water in small sips so she would not choke. She hid Indomie under her pillow. groundnuts inside her handbag, chin-chin inside her wardrobe, and small loaves of bread beside a flower vase. Every night, she waited for Dave to snore, and the moment he reached the deep stage of sleep where even thunder could not wake him, she tiptoed to the kitchen like a professional thief. One night, after drinking garri with tears running down her face like rain on a window glass, she returned to bed and prayed desperately, "God, please, if this is a test, let me quickly pass it so that I can eat real food again." A few days later, Dave announced that he wanted to prepare a special romantic dinner to celebrate their 1-month wedding anniversary, and Isioma's eyes brightened with new hope because she believed that maybe, just maybe, he would finally cook normal food in big pots. She imagined fried rice mountain, peppered chicken volcano, and tall cups of cold fruit juice. But instead, Dave brought out a long plate again, the type that looked like it was designed for decorating flower shops, and he placed exactly 2 strips of grilled beef arranged like railway tracks. Beside them was a tiny square of jollof rice shaped like a dice, and he sprinkled parsley leaves on top like someone blessing a newborn baby. Isioma stared at the plate without blinking. Dave smiled proudly and said, "Happy anniversary, my love. This dish is called Journey of Minimalism. It teaches discipline." Isioma's lips trembled. "Dave, I don't want to learn discipline. I want to learn fullness." Dave laughed, thinking she was making a joke. "Oh, Isioma, you are so funny. Now, just take small bites. Feel the flavor. Let it speak to your spirits." Isioma picked the tiny fork, placed the rice square into her mouth, and almost cried because the rice was super delicious. Her stomach instantly screamed like someone calling for help from a burning building. Before she could stop it, the hunger inside her rose and her head started spinning. The room became bright, then dark, then bright again. Her head shook, her breath trembled, and suddenly everything disappeared like electricity during a thunderstorm. She fainted. When she opened her eyes, she was lying on the couch and Dave was kneeling beside her, fanning her with a napkin and crying like someone who lost his passport at the airport. Isioma, talk to me please. What happened? Are you sick?" Isioma blinked slowly and whispered, "I am hungry." Dave looked confused and offended. "Hungry? After eating such a beautiful meal?" Isioma sat up and exploded with tears. "Dave, I have been hungry since this marriage started. I am tired of artistic food. I don't want food that looks like decoration for magazine cover. I want real food that fills the stomach. I want rice I can see without using microscope. I want chicken I can hold with both hands. I want stew that I can smell from the streets." Dave's eyes widened in shock. "Isioma, why didn't you tell me?" Isioma stared at him as if he had just asked the most confusing question in the universe. "Tell you? I tried. I said it gently. I said it softly. I prayed about it. I even hinted with proverb. But you kept saying experience the flavor. Which flavor? Dave, which flavor can someone experience when the stomach is empty?" Dave looked wounded and slowly stood up. "Isioma, I never meant to hurt you. Food is art for me. I cook small portions because I respect food. I cannot bear wasting ingredients. I want people to see beauty in every bite." Isioma wiped her tears and said, "Respect food but also respect people's stomach. I am not a bird. I need real food." An uncomfortable silence filled the room. Dave walked away quietly without saying another word. He looked hurt and confused. He picked up his keys and left the house without explaining where he was going. Isioma sat on the sofa, shaking with emotion and disbelief. She whispered sadly, "Look at my life. I am married to a chef but starving like a refugee. At 10 p.m., she heard the sound of the door. She quickly switched off the lights and slowly peeped through the curtain. Dave entered, carrying 2 enormous bags of groceries, bags filled with yam, rice, beans, chicken, fish, tomatoes, vegetables, which were enough to feed a family of 12. Isioma's eyes opened wide in confusion. He tiptoed like someone hiding a crime and then went straight to the kitchen, picked up a few things, opened the back door and disappeared into the night with the bags. Isioma gasped. So, he has food, real food, plenty food, and he's hiding it. Where is he taking it to? Who is eating my food? Her heart started pounding and her mind began forming dangerous theories. Is he cooking for another woman? Is there a secret family somewhere? Is he feeding someone else while I starve? Is this how betrayal begins? Her stomach growled dramatically like thunder agreeing with her suspicion. She whispered to herself, "Tomorrow I will find out everything." The next morning, Isioma woke up with puffy eyes and a tight throat because she spent half the night thinking instead of sleeping, wondering where Dave took the huge bags of groceries and why he was hiding them. She watched him getting dressed for work in silence, moving quietly like someone carrying a secret made of glass. When he bent to kiss her forehead before leaving, she turned her face slightly because confusion and pain were wrestling inside her heart like 2 angry wrestlers. He paused and looked into her eyes. "Isioma, please, don't be angry. I love you." Her voice came out sharply like broken glass. "I know you love me, but sometimes love must also feed the stomach." He sighed deeply. "We'll talk later when emotions are calmer." And he left. The moment the door closed, Isioma stood up quickly like a soldier receiving alarm. She tied her scarf, went straight outside and knocked on the next door apartment belonging to her neighbor Chinelo, a woman who was famous for 2 things: always knowing everybody's business and never being wrong about her suspicion. Chinelo opened the door with wide eyes. "Isioma, you look like someone who just saw a ghost. What happened?" Isioma stepped into her flat and closed the door behind her. "Chinelo, Dave is hiding food." Chinelo dropped her cup of tea on the table with shock. "Food? Which kind of food?" Isioma took a deep breath. "Bags of groceries, plenty food. Last night I saw him carrying rice, chicken, fish, yam, beans, everything. Then he sneaked out with it." Chinelo gasped dramatically and shouted, "Rod of justice, are you serious?" Isioma nodded miserably. "I think he's cooking for another woman." Well, within 5 minutes, this news spread through the compound and tenants gathered in small groups, gossiping loud enough for even deaf people to hear. "So, Chef Dave is feeding another woman while his wife is starving? Ha! What kind of wickedness is that? Love will fail you, but food will expose you. If a woman is hungry in marriage, she can burn a city." Even the landlord, Paadewale, an elderly man who always minded his business, came out slowly with his walking stick and asked with concern, "What happened? I heard something about starvation and secret cooking." Isioma opened her mouth to explain, but tears rushed out before words. So she covered her face with her hands and cried dramatically. Paadewale shook his head like a disappointed principal. This is a serious matter, oh. A chef whose wife is hungry. Something is wrong inside his heart." Chinelo rubbed Isioma's back and declared like a warrior, "We must follow him tonight and see where the food is going. No woman deserves hunger in marriage." That evening, as soon as darkness covered the compound, Chinelo gathered 3 more neighbors, Mr. Toby, Blessing and Uchenna, who came carrying a notebook as if he was joining an investigation committee. They sat together in Chinelo's living room planning strategy like detectives preparing for undercover mission. Chinelo said, "We must follow him silently. No talking, no coughing, no slippers making noise." Mr. Toby asked, "Should I bring binoculars?" Blessing asked, "Should we wear black clothes?" Uchenna asked, "Should someone carry pepper spray in case the other woman fights?" Isioma pressed both hands on her forehead. "Please, nobody should start war yet. I only want the truth. They agreed to meet again at 8:45 p.m., the same time Dave left the night before. Isioma waited, pacing back and forth in her living room like a prisoner waiting for judgment. When Dave finally returned from work, he greeted her gently, but she responded stiffly. He showered, changed clothes, ate his tiny artistic dinner alone, and then he picked up his keys again. I am going out for something important. I won't be long, he said. Isioma looked at him and replied, I know, I'll be waiting. He paused but said nothing and left. Immediately he stepped out of the gate. The detective team appeared from different corners like movie characters entering a scene. Chinelo whispered, everyone, silence. Operation Stomach Justice begins now. They followed Dave from a safe distance through the streets, turning left, then right, then crossing the main road. Isioma's heartbeat was pounding hard inside her chest. She whispered to Chinelo, if I see another woman eating the chicken that belongs to me, I will faint. After 15 minutes of walking, Dave turned into a dark, narrow path that led to an old warehouse behind a row of abandoned shops. The team tiptoed closer and hid behind a low fence. Dave pushed the warehouse door open and went inside. Chinelo whispered dramatically, this is it. The other woman is inside. May God give us strength. Isioma felt her knees shaking. Please follow me. I must see it with my own eyes. They approached quietly, peeped through the half-broken window, and what they saw made them froze completely. Inside the warehouse, there were not one or two people. There were more than 30 hungry-looking children sitting in a circle on the floor, wearing torn clothes and holding plates. Dave stood in the middle, stirring a giant pot of jollof rice, bigger than a washing machine. He lifted the spoon and served each child with a smile, adding chicken, stew, plantain, and beans like a loving father feeding his babies. The children laughed, clapped, and shouted happily, Uncle Dave is the best, thank you. Chinelo whispered in shock, this is not side chico, this is charity. Isioma's legs weakened and she leaned on the wall. Suddenly, one of the children looked towards the window and shouted, Auntie, come in, don't hide. Dave turned, saw Isioma and the neighbors, and his face changed from surprise to sadness. He walked towards her slowly and said, Isioma, I wanted to tell you, I just didn't know how to explain. Tears flooded her eyes. So this is where the food goes? You've been feeding them? Dave nodded. I grew up like them. I know hunger. I know what it means to beg for leftovers. And I promised God that if I ever became successful, I would feed others. I cook small plates for you because I am afraid of waste. I don't want to see food being thrown away as if it is nothing. I thought you understood my heart. Isioma covered her mouth and cried, I didn't know. I thought. Dave wiped her tears gently. I never wanted you to starve. I just wanted to balance art and compassion. But I realize now that I forgot to also consider your needs. I am sorry. At that moment, Isioma's hunger pain melted into understanding. She muttered, I am not angry about this. I am only hurt that you did not talk to me. Dave nodded with guilt shining in his eyes. You are right. Please forgive me. Isioma looked around at the children smiling with anticipation and said, let me help you serve them. The morning after the warehouse discovery felt like a different world. It was as if someone changed the entire script of life overnight, and the sun seemed to shine with new meaning through the curtains. Isioma woke up with a strange mixture of embarrassment, understanding, and peace resting on her chest. For the first time since her wedding, she woke up without feeling angry at the dinner she ate or plotting how to swallow garri at 2 a.m. like a secret agent. When she stepped into the living room, she found Dave already awake, sitting on the sofa and staring into space worriedly. He stood up immediately when he saw her. His eyes looked desperate and apologetic at the same time, the way a child looks when he knows he broke a precious plate. He spoke first. Isioma, I I didn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I made you feel. I am sorry. I should have listened when you complained. I should have talked. I should have remembered that marriage is not a museum exhibition. It is partnership. Isioma folded her arms and looked at him clearly. Dave, I am not angry that you are helping children. I am proud. What hurt me was the silence. You carried a heavy mission alone when you could have carried it with me. Dave nodded quickly, like someone trying to catch forgiveness before it runs away. You are right. I thought you would not understand. I thought you might be afraid or complain about the time it takes. And I wanted to protect our marriage from conflicts. But in trying to avoid conflicts, I created a bigger one. Isioma sighed deeply and sat beside him. Dave, next time, talk to me. Even if you think I will not understand, let me at least try. Hunger is not a good counselor. Hunger will make someone think you are hiding a side chick in a warehouse. Dave laughed unexpectedly and covered his face with his hands. I will never forget that moment. I looked through the window and saw the entire compound standing like investigators. Isioma shook her head dramatically. Chinelo even wanted to bring binoculars. They laughed together and it felt like the first time they were laughing from their hearts. Later that afternoon, word about the warehouse spread through the compound the same way the side chick rumor had spread previously. The same neighbors who were once gossiping about secret girlfriends now formed a crowd outside the gates eager to apologize. Pa Adewale, the landlord, arrived with his walking stick and cleared his throat. Dave, it is admirable to feed hungry children, but you must also feed your wife. If your wife is starving, people will think evil things. The world is full of misunderstanding. Dave bowed his head respectfully. You are right, sir. Chinelo stepped forward dramatically and held her chest like a stage actress. Dave, we are sorry for thinking you were feeding another woman. Please forgive us. We were ready to fight. We even planned strategies. Isioma raised her eyebrow. Strategies? You people were prepared to fight? Chinelo nodded with pride. Yes, so Blessing was ready to hold the other woman's hair. Mr. Toby said he would seize the pot of food. Uchenna wrote prayers of restoration. Laughter exploded and filled the air. Then, something unexpected happened. The children from the warehouse arrived with bush flowers and handmade cards that read, "Thank you, Uncle Dave and Auntie. We love you." Isioma covered her mouth because tears rolled down before she could stop them. She knelt and hugged the children tightly. One of the boys looked up at her with shiny eyes and said, "Auntie, please, don't stop him from feeding us. He's the only reason we don't sleep hungry." Isioma's heart softened completely. She looked at Dave and nodded in approval. That evening, they sat at the dining table for another important conversation. Isioma spoke first. Dave, I now understand your mission and I want to help. But I also need you to understand me. I love art, but I also love food that fills the stomach. I don't want to choose between beauty and fullness. I want both of them. Dave took her hands. Then let us create both. Let us cook art and also cook plenty. Let us make a place where people can choose. Isioma smiled. Another restaurant with two sides? Dave smiled. Exactly. One side for people who want artistic plating and small portions, and another side for people who want real African food in big plates without apology. Isioma burst into laughter. Yes, let's call it Taste and Fullness Kitchen. Dave nodded excitedly. That is perfect. They clinked glasses like two people sealing a beautiful promise. 2 months later, the new restaurant launched with 2 sections. Section A was called Artistic Tasting Experience for quiet people who eat slowly and say things like, "I can taste the rosemary whispering." Section B was tagged Full African Portions for people who want food they can see from across the road, food that requires 2 hands to eat, and food that makes someone say, "Now I can sleep." Their restaurants became famous and their marriage became sweeter than honey. Sometimes Dave still cooks art and Isioma still admires it, but she always asks with a smile, "Where is the real food?" And Dave would reply, "It's coming in 1 minute, my love." Then he would serve a mountain of jollof rice with huge chicken shining like morning sun. Isioma would then close her eyes and smile. This is the marriage I prayed for. Thank you for watching the story. Kindly share your thoughts about the story with me in the comment section. Share the story out with your loved ones and give the story a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring another story your way. Bye.